But I noticed one thing. He was a bit edgy, always on the edge, alert, and really a bit more sensitive and tensed up. I later on knew the war had in earnest started. There were differences and differences in the LLF. There were dangers and dangers in the LLF. They had just lost a colleague, a lieutenant, killed by the miserable stupid Agenta. And they were on the edge, these men. Tumwine had changed, and probably changed forever. But the major milestone I want to lay more emphasis and take time on is his injury in the bush. Depending on who is part to this big story. For whatever reason, whoever is saying it, whatever he's saying it for, the occasion, you'll hear many parts of this story. This is my story. This is the part I played. Tumwine got injured in the bush. And it's very, very interesting. He was brought to me in casualty in Mulago by our clandestine arrangement by a gentleman called Seguya. He was called Dr. Seguya, but he was actually not a doctor. They handed him over to me in casualty. Tumwine was dead for all intents and purposes. I can tell you that. I don't know whether Msinguzulu Zambira is here, but Msinguzulu Zambira had escorted him too. He had been hit by some backfire of another PG. But anyhow, so they dropped me to Tumwine in casualty in Mulago, and I had the tragedy of having to wheel him in casualty, from casualty to the X-ray unit, all incognito. But in any case, he wouldn't have recognized him because he was so swollen that he wouldn't recognize what had happened to him. I wheeled him up to the casualty, got him into the X-ray unit. We took X-rays. We took him to 6C and then got the doctors to operate on him. Tumwine was a very lucky man because you can imagine a bullet of 7.62 millimeters passing through somebody, being shot from the right side and taking off the left eye. That is a no mean achievement. If this bullet had changed direction by just a millimeter or 0.1 of a millimeter, Tumwine wouldn't have lived up to now. Fortunately, I think Isaac Newton knew all this when he got that first law of physics. The bullet went straight through what are called sinuses. There are 6 sinuses on the face. For people who suffer from sinusitis, you know what I'm talking about. These are air spaces. There is no resistance at all, so the bullet went through, so it did not change direction, because the bullet travels in a straight line until it is stopped or hits some very difficult obstacle and it changes direction. But when it doesn't hit an obstacle, it goes straight, and that's what happened. It took off the left eye and the left lower lid. A clean operation by the bullet, incidentally, because there was nothing more to do for the doctors, quite very frankly. But those who operated Tumwine in Mulago did not even know who he was. Neither did they actually understand what had happened, except knowing that after all those days we were being shot, we were being killed by the UNLA and UNLF. We were also being killed left, right, and center from all sorts of angles. So a bullet wound would not be surprising in Mulago. But some other doctors knew they had treated a big man from the bush. I always say that Tumwine was very, very like 2 other people. Enos Tumsim is here. Tumsim bakamteri isasu umchifu. Bakamteri isasu in the heart. And he lived Tumsim Enosogumu Kumureo. He probably doesn't have the left nipple. He was shot from the back on the right side, and the nipple went. He survived by the skin of his teeth. Another one is Muchishamuntu. Muchishamuntu was shot. Part of the lung was gone. We removed 1 liter of blood in the chest. These are 3 injuries that made a whole world of difference in my life. Tumwine is a survivor. Thank you, thank you. Tumwine is a survivor. Because in Mulago, it was so difficult. You can imagine, this was the 3rd in command in the bush. He's here being hidden by everybody. We didn't know who knew him, who didn't know him. But there are people here who are quiet and who knew. Jole Sabuni is seated somewhere in this audience. Gwen Kategaya is somewhere in this audience, maybe. Kankuba, Jovi, Mjara Katsugas is right here. These people knew what we were going through. The risk was too much, but nevertheless, we were willing to take that risk. It didn't matter for us. Anyway, the doctors who treated him in Mulago, the nurses who looked after Tumwine in Mulago, some knew and some did not. But anyway, the world was such that it was against the government. That's why we should continue to do the right things as a government. Everybody was against the government, and you could hide anybody, including the thief who had been shot because he was stealing. In this case, Tumwine wasn't. Anyway, Tumwine survives the Mulago debacle only after I had got him his sister, late Chebtunji. She's dead. But I know Tumwine loved Chebtunji so much, and loved Atwine's mom. She's also late. He asked me to get them from Brunga. I got these 2 people incognito. I got these 2 people incognito. Atwine is here, she's now a big woman. Got them to see Tumwine and put them back right in the train here, and I said, get the hell out of here. For me, I'm gone and maybe gone, but go home now. But Tumwine was forever grateful for that. We had taken so much risk in Mulago. So much risk because there are many people who knew Tumwine. One of them was an engineer. Whether he knew him and wanted to expose him, I don't know. But we feared. Of course we feared, because we were doing all sorts of terrible, terrible things to the government of the day. So we transferred Tumwine to my little flat somewhere there. It was called Seka Foundation, where I was lucky also to save some few soldiers who are generals, some of them here, and lost the first army commander, Sebuya. I kept him there for a few days. And we transferred him again, our clandestine operation, transferred him to Rubaga. Gweni is here, and Jole, and again Jovia Kankuba. These were in the thick and thin of this very, very treacherous and complicated operation. We transferred Tumwine to Rubaga. What was the purpose? We wanted to try a prosthesis. Because he had lost an eye, we wanted to put in an artificial prosthesis. But he had got such a bad injury of the lower lid that the prosthesis could not be held in place. Nevertheless, we tried to get it in Rubaga. But interestingly, as he stayed admitted in Rubaga, a certain Muslim man was walking around Rubaga hospital. And he peeped through with the remaining eye and said, but what's wrong with that man? A Muslim dressed like that, walking around a huge Catholic hospital? Something must be wrong. And he said, that man is dangerous. This man was Sergeant Sori. Those who are UFM, or who are UFM Kaira's outfit, they knew him. Sergeant Sori. Soro. That man had come to wreck Rubiri. And sure enough, 2 weeks later, Rubiri was hit. But in between that Reke and really being hit, we insisted and took back Tumwine back in the bush, in his state. I'm very glad that the other colleagues in the bush did the right thing. He stayed well, he got better, he even finally became the 3rd Army Commander after the late Sam Magara had died in a very, very unfortunate circumstance, a mistake by one of our operational operatives. Tumwine had very interesting character, shall I say, and I grew up with him and I knew him. But let me talk briefly about Nairobi. Tumwine, after some time in the bush, he was brought to us in Nairobi. And a lot has been talked about our external committee. I was a member of the external committee. Mr. Chikere was our chairperson. Tumwine is brought to Nairobi, and he was staying with me in my 2-bedroom flat. We did everything, including Dr. Chionga, the other doctors. We took him back, we screened him, we stabilized him. We did everything else. Actually, in the grand scheme of things, we did nothing because the bullet had cleaned itself. It is hot, it is fast, it did not, stay in the body. It only disorganized him slightly. But he needed that rest. And after that, really, the rest is his purpose to win. He became alive and came back, became our army commander here, and did everything that any other reasonable man would have done in the circumstances with one eye. I used to tell him that Moshe Dayan, the general in the Israeli army, used to say that some young men had got injured, and he told them that, look, young men, for all there is to see in this wretched world, one eye is enough. And Tumwine's one eye was enough. What did he not do? Thank you. He did everything that any human being could have possibly done. Probably he did even more. We have a lot of legacy. Tumwine was an extremely fine artist. He had a fusion of current architectural designs and the traditional Wanyankore culture. His house in the village is a masterpiece of creation. It should be redesigned by, it should actually be adopted by UNESCO. 3 Banyankore huts stacked together. It's a masterpiece of creation, as far as I'm concerned, of art. Tumwine was meticulous, but rather meticulously stubborn. Tumwine could insist on certain things that in some cases he would say, no, Tumwine, you are wrong. But he was so stubborn that he would want to see it at the end. If not, do an experiment and see whether it works or doesn't work. So he was basically an experimental scientific man who wanted to try everything that he knew. And trying he did. Tumwine was also intensely private. I once confronted him when we were burying his aunt. Aunt Justine's mom. Aunt Justine Wakoko's mom. And I said to Tumwine, what's wrong with you? What is eating you up? He said, I'm your friend, tell me what is eating you up. And Tumwine said, we watch our civil, we watch. He used to use that each time he wanted to actually silence you. But he was intensely private. By the job he did as a Minister of Security. You don't kill a policeman and you say, he has said you kill somebody. In Uganda, you will also die, incidentally, because you will also die. Some of these people who are writing, whining and dining, it is because of Tumwine's willingness to, it's not that any soldier wants to die, no, but they are willing to stake their lives in the line of fire so that Uganda can drink a cup of coffee, so that Namara can sit here and tell his story. And let me tell you, Tumwine may be alone, may have gone and moved on, but his spirit is still very much alive. After all, soldiers never die, they just fade away. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, Dr. Warren.